Good morning. It is Tuesday, May the 14th. Good to have you with us on Up to the Minute. We're live at the HCCTV studios in Houston, Texas, downtown Houston, Texas, I must say. And it's good to have you here with us on this Tasty Tuesday. Got a special guest coming up, but one person who has just literally strolled in the studio. I mean, we're talking less than 30 seconds before airtime. Benji Escobar. I'm glad you could make it to the show.
I just like adding some suspense, once in a while. Not keep it on a routine.
All right. Well, good. Thank you for joining us.
Nice suit, by the way.
Thank you.
Like That's very
nice. I seek your approval every day. I do. I really do. But I appreciate you being here. And, it's a beautiful day outside. Did that just kind of distract you while you were driving?
Kept looking up at the sky. That has like a glass ceiling. You're just like, wow.
Well, I took the rooftop off today.
Oh, yeah. You do have a convertible. That's nice.
So it was beautiful drive in. So great day for the next few days. Supposed to rain in a couple of days, but we're going to forget about that right now. We have got a good show for you today. We've got some special guests coming your way. But you can always find us. We want to thank you for joining us on Facebook Live and YouTube. We're here every morning, 10 a.m., Mondays through Fridays, most of the mornings. Exception later this week. We'll explain that later. But Benji, they can always catch us in social media anytime and on that little cable channel we have.
Yes, of course. You can find us live on Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, but Houston Community College District. You can also find us on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and on HCCTV, where you can catch rebroadcasts of this show at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay. We want to introduce our second guest first, and he is joining us live from his kitchen, the executive chef over at Nundini's table. We're talking with Chef Timothy Ogden. Tim, good to see you on the show. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I think your microphone's still muted. Uh-oh. All right, I'll tell you what, Tim, we're going to get to you in about 10 minutes. So we just lost Tim, but we'll get him back. We promise we will. You've got a special guest, though. You may know her.
I do.
Yeah. And we're all celebrating AAPI Month. So take it away.
Awesome. Yeah. So welcome to the show, Lana. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. So let's begin with you telling us about your ethnic and cultural background.
Sure. Well, despite apparently looking Hispanic, which I don't think I do, I am Filipino, Polynesian, and European. My dad is Filipino and Polynesian. My mother is of French and Scandinavian descent, which we just found out recently after doing one of those My Ancestry DNA things. Yeah. And funny enough, I have equal percentages of Polynesian and Scandinavian DNA. So we kind of giggle about that. And I grew up in Hawaii, which is home to me. So a lot of culturally, a lot of what I do is based on the culture of Hawaii.
Of course, yeah. So aside from overseeing marketing and communications for Northwest College, you also teach humanities courses that include AAPI Studies. Can you tell us some about those classes?
Sure. I teach humanities intro classes. I haven't yet taught Asian American Pacific Islander studies here at HCC, which I hope to do soon, because we really do have a huge population of Asians here in Houston. So in my course on AAPI studies, I teach about the Japanese American internment camps, the Chinese Exclusion Act, the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy, the Vietnamese shrimpers versus the Klan, which happened right here in Houston, down in Seabrook and Clear Lake Shores. And I like my students to know that the Filipinos first arrived in the U.S. in 1587. And that predates the Pilgrims who arrived in 1620. So imagine if the Filipino folks had stayed, what our culture would be like here in the United States. And I also talk about the first Asians who did settle in the U.S. The Filipinos who came in 1587, they came on a Spanish galleon, and they put their foot on the shore, and then they packed up and they left. They went back to doing whatever the Spanish trade routes were. But the first Asians in the U.S. were the Filipinos who jumped ship in 1763, and they formed a settlement called St. Malo right outside New Orleans, and it's the first documented Asian American community in America.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like you said, they've been here very early on since the 1500s. And what are some of those contributions that Filipinos have made towards the US, I guess you could say?
Right. Well, those men I just spoke about in Louisiana, they brought with them shrimping techniques. And they brought those techniques to their Louisiana village because they already knew how to do shrimping from living in the Philippines. So I like to say that the shrimping technology used today in the industry can be credited to those men. And not a lot of people know about a gentleman named Larry Atiliang. He's a Filipino-American labor organizer and civil rights activist. He played a central role in the founding of the United Farm Workers Union, and he was instrumental in helping Cesar Chavez and his union ambitions. Larry had already had a union organized, and he wanted to lead a strike against the grape growers. But he knew that if the Filipino workers were striking, that the farmers would just go to the Mexican farm workers. So Larry went to Cesar and said, hey, why don't we join forces and really make a difference? And that's how he helped Cesar Chavez. And Cesar Chavez actually looked at how he organized his union.
Wow.
And so Filipino Americans were very prevalent as farm workers on the farms in California and of course in Hawaii. And then little is known about a doctor. Her name is Catherine Luzuriaga, and she is a physician and a pediatric immunologist who was one of the doctors who was an early developer of diagnostic tests for HIV in children. So yeah, there's a lot of contributions that Filipinos have made.
Wow, I love all those contributions that they have done, but also we have some people who are maybe like well known by being in entertainment business. Like I know Joe Coy is one of those like top Filipino comedians that are here. Can you tell us any more people who are well known?
You know, what's fun about Joe Coy is he actually talks about his mom and growing up Filipino, which we all can seriously relate to when he talks about how his mother talks, scolds him, putting Vicks on his feet. My dad believes Vicks cures everything. But there's, if you remember from Saturday Night Live and 50 First Dates, Rob Schneider, he's half Filipino. If you watch CNN or MSNBC, there's a conservative political analyst, George Conway, his mother's Filipino. Of course, there's musicians that some people probably don't know. Olivia Rodrigo, Bruno Mars, Saweetie, her. Some of us older folks listened to Metallica back in the day, and Kurt Hammett, he's part Filipino. From Black Eyed Peas is Abel de App. He actually grew up in the Philippines and speaks perfect Tagalog. And then for those of us who liked alternative music, Joe Santiago was a founder of the Pixies. There's also Dave Bautista, who's a very famous actor. Jacob Batalon from Spider-Man. There's Darren Criss from Glee, Vanessa Hudgens, Vanessa Lachey. A lot of folks don't know Haley Steinfeld from Pitch Perfect. She's part Filipino. Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Back in the day when I was in high school, we were all excited about this very exotic looking girl. We all thought she was part Chinese. She's actually part Filipino. Of course, Lou Diamond Phillips is also part Filipino. And then there's Tia Carrera. Now, Tia Carrera embraces her Filipino heritage, but early in her career, when asked about her ethnicity, she would say she was Spanish Chinese, which we would laugh at because that was code for being Filipino, but not so happy about about it, being a little bit ashamed of it. And then there's, if you watch Dancing with the Stars, Cheryl Burke, she's half Filipino. I believe her mother's Filipino. And most recently, Miss USA / Miss Universe, Rabani Gabriel, she's from Friendswood. She's half Filipino. And that kid, Alec, from the Shriners commercials, his dad is Filipino. So you wouldn't even know it. And, we're all around you.
Lana, I had one question for you, and you mentioned this last time you and I talked about that. A lot of people, you mentioned it at the top, but you kind of went over it this time. You grew up in Hawaii, correct?
I did.
Yeah. What was that experience like? I mean, a lot of us go there to vacation, but I imagine it's a whole different experience if you grow up on the island. I hear rumors of like island fever, like I got to get away from the island for the weekend or something. What was it like growing up there?
So growing up in Hawaii, yeah, you do get island fever. And it's expensive to live in Hawaii. We call it the paradise tax. Everything's more expensive, except now California, I believe, is more expensive than Hawaii, because everything has to be shipped into Hawaii. So yeah, but I would get off of work or get out of school and it'd be 5, 6 o'clock in the evening and I'd run down to the beach and hang out at the beach, spend my whole day surfing on weekends or doing water sports. I loved being in the ocean. I was a paddler also. Yeah. So I would, get to paddle and see really cool things, be out on my with my team out on the outrigger canoes, and the dolphins would come and swim with us, or manta rays would come and kind of hang out with us and like to swim alongside the boat. So yeah, there was just a lot of really cool things, and the heritage in Hawaii is just phenomenal, and it's really a melting pot of people because a lot of Asians were brought into Hawaii to work the plantations, to work the sugarcane and the pineapple. So all those Asians brought their culture with them too.
Incredible. And I definitely got to get back there one day. Definitely have to. Dr. Lana Pigao, she is our communications director at the Northwest College, also one of our co-hosts, celebrating AAPI Month. Thanks for being here, Lana.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to change directions a little bit. We're going to head out to Nundini's Chef's Table. It is in the Heights area. If you haven't been there yet, it's beautiful. You want to check the restaurant out. And I think Tim, our chef, is right there. Tim, unmute your microphones. It looks like you're still muted. There we go.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Good to have you with us, Chef.
Thank you for having me.
Ogden, executive chef out there. Tim, great to see you again. Thanks for being on the show. We want to let our viewers know that you're going to be preparing one of your signature dishes, a very traditional dish, in just a few moments.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the meaning of the restaurant and what it means to the owner and to yourself.
Well, this restaurant represents, it was all started by someone who was once a little orphan boy. This restaurant represents, the success of an immigrant who came over here from Livorno, Gianpaolo Nundini. He was a master chef, but he grew up in an orphanage from age 5 to 18. That's actually where he learned to cook. But his father died at a young age, and he was the youngest, and his mother couldn't afford to feed all of them. So he had to go to Boys Town of Rome, and he came over here and built what we have today. He's actually the reason we can enjoy prosciutto and all the Italian cured meats in Texas. He holds Texas's oldest good Italian goods import permit.
That's incredible. I know. And Mr. Nundini, from what I understand, passed away
in mid-October this last year. He did.
Yeah. But his son is still with you at the restaurant, and his son is the owner, correct?
And he's one heck of a chef too.
Now, let me ask you this, because for many years, I went to Nundini's table, I guess about 7 or 8 years. I was just there a few weeks ago when I saw you. But before that, it was about 7 or 8 years ago. And I used to pass by it all the time. And people would, is it a restaurant? Can you go to that? But you guys are in what really was a warehouse at one time. And I know you've had some damage from Harvey, and it's now been rebuilt and refashioned and everything.
Right. Gianpaolo Nundini bought the land in the building in 2002, I believe, if memory. I wasn't around here, of course, but I remember him telling me because he did have the import and the distribution of the Italian goods, and the front was once a grocery store until about late 2008. He opened the restaurant.
And you could go there before and still now and get a bottle of wine, have something to eat. And you still, from what I understand, you guys are reimagining your deli counter. And you also have added a large bar as well, which was one part of a deli area as well, right?
Right. That used to be where he had like the cannoli, and different candies. And now that's a 23-foot long full service bar that's, open for any libation you can imagine.
And it looked like you've added seating as well for the tables as well.
We certainly have the room. I mean, with about almost 39,000 square feet in this building, we add seating whenever we feel like we need to.
Now, I'm going to ask you some more questions, but I know you've got a demonstration. Tell us about what you're going to make for us today. Maybe you can get started on it.
Okay, this is a very simple dish called pasta alla gricia. I'm using mezza rigatoni, which we're familiar with rigatoni. It's just the half side. Rigatoni normally is about double the length of this,
right? And
so it's just mezza rigatoni. And this dish is a relative of the carbonara, an authentic, not the American carbonara with cream, the authentic carbonara, and the amatriciana, which all begins with the guanciale, the pork cheek. And so that's the most prized part of the pig, they say, next to the squeal. Yeah. So, and here I have a piece of guanciale, just simple, and we cut it into lardons. You have sheep's milk cheese, which is pecorino romano here. And then, of course, we use fresh cracked pepper. And you want to have some starchy pasta water to do this dish. And so I've kind of done by a magic of television thing. If you want to tilt down just a little bit there, right there, perfect. And then so you want to cut your guanciale into little lardons. They call it little squares.
So it's like little pieces of bacon.
Right. And so you see all that beautiful fat that I've rendered from there. Yeah. And you start with a cold skillet, always. Even when you make bacon at home, you start with a cold skillet so you get all that beautiful fat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve temporarily that beautiful, and these are just perfectly pillowy and on the crispy on the outside and pillowy on the inside. So they're going to be toothsome when you eat them. So you dip your pasta in here, and now you see this pan's pretty hot. So this is the toasted pepper in here. It's kind of hard to see, but you just put pepper in a pan, get it hot, and then now this is where you notice my heat is off because this is the gentle part. You want to do this carefully.
So you're putting a little bit of pasta water in there?
That's some pasta water. Typically, you would cook pasta very free-flowing, but this is one of the exceptions in the Italian culinary, is you want to cook it in a very confined environment to get the starch out of it. So, and then what this does is this makes an emulsion with all that starch. And so you can see how that is becoming a sauce that's not going to split.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were going to do this. Start with this sauce without any cream, but I see right exactly there. So I guess with that and the cheese, right?
Right, and so you have the pecorino romano, and you want to be very careful with the pecorino romano. Only add a little bit of water because once you get pecorino romano above about 142 degrees, you have string cheese, and there's no way back from it.
Yeah, you want to watch that, all right?
So you just add a little of. So you can see your like that. I have asbestos fingers because I'm a chef, but you can go ahead, put that in there and notice, and my heat is off. And so you want to go ahead and bring your pasta over into that dish. And now most home cooks are unable to do this. The best way to do this is to practice with a skillet full of dry beans while you're watching a movie, and eventually you'll get the flip saute.
Yeah, that would be a disaster in my household. So I don't think I'd be able to do that.
So you give it a good shake, and then you serve it. And you have, let me get a bowl that.
Yeah, that looks incredible.
And so it makes its own cream sauce. And then so you can see that creamy sauce
You put the pork right on top.
there.
Yeah.
And then and by the time it gets to the table, it will become a composed dish right now. And then of course you add a little more of this grated over the top. You can never have too much of that.
Absolutely
So
not.
that is the simple dish called pasta alla gricia.
We're talking with Executive Chef Timothy Ogden. Tim is the Executive Chef at Nundini Chef's Table, and he's our Tasty Tuesday guest. Tim, good to see you again, and you guys got some great stuff out there. I got to get back out there soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care, Tim. And I tell you, Benji, they've got some, that dish, incredible pasta. And they also have a dish with octopus as well.
I'm not a big fan of the octopus, but
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the pasta and the cheese. So
Yeah. So we're all about that.
Anything with cheese and pasta, I'm there.
All right. Very cool. Nundini's Table up in the Heights area. Okay. We've got some announcements to make before we wrap up today's show. One of them, musical auditions. They're open admission. Students interested in furthering their musical education can attend student auditions to learn about the program, take their music theory placement exam, and meet much more, like the chair of the department as well. It's 9 a.m. to noon, Saturday, May the 18th. That is this coming Saturday at the HCC Central Fine Arts Center. If you wanted to know about the program, this is the time to do it. Check our post after the show for more information. Truck Rodeo Championship is heading this way. Are you competing?
Yeah, it's not a first rodeo. And I got the
dear.
little voice, Bob Tallman voice. HCC's Truck Championship. HCC's Automotive Center of Excellence will host its annual Truck Driving Championships, also known as this Truck Driving Rodeo, a competition with industry partners hosted by HCC Northeast. Professional truck drivers from various industries participate in a skills competition followed by an awards ceremony. This will take place Saturday, May 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Northeast campus. So check out our post after the show for more details.
Okay, Instagram, that's where you can find our One College art exhibition. It's once again our gallery walls for the exhibition that features studio classes from all across the HCC system. Viewing links available through May the 31st, end of this month. Registration info in our post after the show. And we've also got a program called Coding with AI and Robotics.
Yeah, it's almost summer camp time at HCC Northeast. And this year, participants will learn about coding with AI and robotics. Middle and high school students across the greater Houston area can participate. It's free of charge and lunch is included. This will take place June 24th through the 28th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Northwest campus. Take advantage of the students. Availability is limited, so early registration is encouraged. So check out our post after the show for more info.
It's always a good deal when lunch is included.
Yeah, and it's free.
And it's free. Yeah, you cannot beat that. Okay, we mentioned that Up to the Minute is on every morning at 10 a.m. live, right? Okay, this Thursday and Friday is an exception. We'll have a best of Up to the Minutes because of our commencement ceremonies. That's right. They're happening at NRG Arena this year, and they are happening on Friday. Thursday, we'll be setting up. All of our crew is involved in the live stream and the visual aspects of this production. So we will be out there Thursday and Friday. So we won't be in the studio, or most of us won't. And we will have the best of Up to the Minute on those 2 days. That's Thursday, May the 16th, Friday, May the 17th, and we'll return May the 20th. And if you haven't registered for the summer or the fall, what are you waiting for? Now's the time to do so. We have 5 ways to learn: online anytime, online on a schedule, hybrid, in-person, hybrid lab. 5 ways to learn. Go to hccs.edu/apply. Okay, graduation's upon us. We'll have someone from the grad committee on our very own HCCTV host, one of the co-hosts of this program, Sharday Campbell. She'll be on the show tomorrow to talk about one of our students. I was surprised to learn that Swoop was not you this year.
I want to be Swoop.
I've never seen the two of you in the same room together, and I was thinking you might be Swoop, but the student who has been portraying Swoop has been doing it actually for the last few years. and he'll be on the show tomorrow.
There you go.
Son, you know,
We can
sans
pass
the
baton,
mask.
you know, like
Yeah,
the-
sans the mask. So
Okay.
you can be here too.
yeah.
He'll pass the baton to
Yeah, the
you.
baton. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they give him free lunch when he does that.
There you go. Free lunch. I'm
So
there.
you can get that. All right. Benji will be here next week if he shows up on time. If he makes it. He barely made it today, like 30 seconds before the show.
I was actually outside the door, but
Yeah. Okay. You weren't in your seat, but we'll go on. We'll just let it go. But he'll be back next week. I'll be back tomorrow, and we're live tomorrow, 10 a.m. with Up to the Minute. We'll see you then.